You thought about a very interesting subject recently. We get a lot of news coverage in Holland about the case from the Two Live Crew stuff and the record merchandiser being arrested for selling an album.
Yeah.
And then the court statement mentioned filthy thoughts.
That's right. This sets a precedent in U.S. Law that if this decision is allowed to stand, it's the first time that the content of a person's thoughts will be the thing which is the crime, or the thing that generates the crime. And because of the way U.S. law works, that particular theory can be extracted from that case and applied in other instances. Do you understand? Because if it's true that when a person makes a record, that record could induce another person to have filthy thoughts, and if that is a crime, then a person who designs an ad for an automobile, which has a girl standing next to the car, could also be accused of the same thing. Or a person who designed a greeting card, which had a funny thing on it, which induced a filthy thought. Or, the list goes on and on and on. If filthy thoughts are going to be against the law in America, my question is, who is going to go around and enforce this filthy thought law? It takes us right back to Who Are the Brain Police from
That's
the
what
first
I was
album.
Yeah. And it's so abstract. I mean,
it's very abstract, and it's one of those kinds of things that a certain segment of the U.S. population would think that it was a fascinating topic to debate, and they'd tie up the courts with it for years.
I mean, does that make you wonder if all the stuff that has been going on with people speaking for certain liberation of different aspects of life, doesn't it give the feeling that the circle is round and we have to start all over again?
I don't understand the question.
I mean, you have made a recording in '66 about a song called Who Are the Brain Police, and after that a lot of people followed and have spoken out against certain movements. I mean, if you hear something like this, if you didn't know better, you might think that never happened, that those forces have never been around.
Well, you might think that unless you knew better. I mean, the fact is that that sort of evil tendency has been a fact of life in America since the Puritans first landed here. The whole idea of a filthy thought is a religious concept, not really a legal concept. The idea of that sort of filth connected with thoughts of sex is something that is derived from a special type of religious orientation. And my basic argument with it is that the U.S. Constitution says that there should be no mingling of religious thought and the law. Because the minute you start mixing the two together, you wind up with a situation like you have in Iran. It's called a theocracy. And it would be the worst of all possible scenarios to see the United States be controlled by Christian thought, because the Christians who are the most involved in politics right now are Christian extremists who believe in this, the imminent approach of Armageddon, the end of the world. And in their theology, in order for Jesus to return, we must have another very big war. Because only after this war can their Savior return. So with that in mind, to think that these people are connected with the Defense Department or any other aspect of the U.S. government endangers the rest of the world. Their religious beliefs should be something that they can cherish them all by themselves in private. They should never be in a position where they could speed up the process of having their Savior return by pushing a red button to blow the world up. And that's the real danger about letting those kinds of Christians have a strong influence on U.S. government policy. And we saw them make a lot of progress in that direction during the Reagan administration, because they helped, that whole section of the born-again Christian community helped to put Reagan in office. And he paid them back by giving them appointed jobs in the government. In other words, they were in positions of power, but you couldn't vote to get them out because they were appointed. They weren't elected. And the whole Reagan administration was populated by these religious mutants.